Hi there, good morning. I'm Dani Henderson, and my guest today is Barbara-Jean Lindsay. She is a contactee. Now, some of you may know her from her show Cosmic Origin, Cosmic Oracle. Cosmic Oracle is in its 8th year, and we're going to get into all of that. Barbara-Jean has a near-death experience to share with you, an onboard craft experience to share with you. And if we have time, we're also going to go into her Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti experiences too. Barbara-Jean, good morning, my love. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I feel great. I love Fridays.
Yeah, I love every day. I say to everyone, every single day, it always seems to be Wednesday in the week. It's like, oh my God, it's Wednesday already. I just can't keep up. Everything's going so fast. It's lovely to have you on. I just want to say that I met you through our lovely friend Brian Bland, who
Yeah.
with Mike Carroll has the show Pork and Beans on Facebook and YouTube, guys. All of you who are lovers of Bigfoot, of Sasquatch, of Yeti, whatever you want to call it, because he's called that these beings, these beautiful beings are called something different across the world. And so pork and beans, guys. That's where we're connected with Brian Bland. So I'm going to hand over to you, my love, to share with us your near-death experience.
Okay. Thank you, Danny. Thanks for having me on. And Brian, I talked with him earlier this morning, and he said for me to make sure to tell you that he sends his love to you.
Ah,
So,
thank you.
so yeah, my NGE story happened in 1989. I was a single mom with 3 kids. I owned a fine art gallery and a design studio, and I was starting to look at psychic information. I was a seeker of truth at the time because I had all this stuff, um, and I should be happy with all the stuff, but I wasn't. So I was started a spiritual quest, shall we say. And so that particular morning, December 4th, 1989, I woke up and there was something like a white wispy cloud around me. I didn't know what it was. So I went back to sleep because I didn't have time to deal with it. I was hoping it would go away, but it didn't. And it followed me during the day, all day long. And that evening, as I'm going into a women's healing center to hopefully get some help, because I was feeling a little bit out of time, out of sync, out of sort, but I wasn't sure what it was. And so as I'm walking into the women's retreat, I started having excruciating pain in my chest, like 1,000 knives into my chest. And when that happened, the pain was so excruciating that I passed out. When I passed out, they sat me in a chair and sat me up, and I full body channeled a being, a male with a male voice, very loud, who
Wow.
said he was here to kill Barbara because she had information that couldn't be shared at that time. And so he collapsed both my lungs, and I was taken to the ICU, was given last rites, said I wouldn't make it, all that long story very short. And as my body was in the ICU, and they had given me so many the shocks that I have a black tree line that goes up my arm and around my shoulder and into my heart. I
Wow.
talked to the doctor 5 years later, and he said that it's the most electricity he'd ever put through a body before, but he knew I wasn't going to make it, so he might as well just try with whatever he had.
God.
So while my body was in ICU, um, there was also a group of, it was psychics there who read the energy. It was their work to read the energy of the evening. And what they saw is that as I was struggling with this being for my body, another being came in, and it was Thor, like in the Marvel movies. This is way before the Marvel movie, all of that. But actual Thor came in with his hammer and beat the guy and saved my life. And I know that sounds really weird, but that's what about 8 women saw during that evening. And so as Thor saved my life, and I think medical equipment also helped save my life eventually. But as I was struggling physically for my body's life, I went up and out, totally out of the body, and became one in this dark liquid light, beautiful, undulating, the most love I had ever felt in my whole entire life. And I'm a real kind of loving person. And I'm in this beautiful, warm, liquid, love light water, so much love beyond my idea of love. And as I'm in it, I just kind of become one with it. It becomes one with me, and I just become one with everything. And then in that moment of that blissed out love state, I looked down and I noticed I didn't have a body. And I said, oh my God, I don't have a body. How can I exist without a body? That I'm still here without a body. And so my mind was just blown, right? Expanded. And in that moment, I found myself on a spaceship. And it's the first time I remember being on a spaceship. I was in a jump seat, sort of looking chair, and in the middle of a room. And a large being came towards me with, he was about 8 feet tall with square shoulders, a big white hood. I never could see his face, but he said his name was the Guardian, and his job was to be the communicator between myself and a group of beings that he would introduce me to. I felt a lot of love. I felt like he was like a master being, like a grandfather type being. He felt like a male being, even though I never knew what kind he was or what he was underneath the cloak. And so as he waved his hand, to the right was a group of beings behind a glass plate window. And there were, I don't know how many there were, about 8 or 10 or so, some fat ones, some short ones, some skinny ones. And they were all had the same robes that he had on. And I couldn't see any of their faces, but they definitely had personalities. And they would get all excited, jump up and down, and then they would come to a calmness. They would tell their guardian, who would communicate to my guardian what they wanted me to learn. And so what they did is they showed me through experiences. The first experience they took me to was one with our Mother Earth, where she came into view, our beautiful, beautiful planet, that she's a jewel among all of the planets, and that it made me cry because her heartbeat and my heartbeat became one, and that she was alive. And at that time, I had no idea. And so, and it was like the beat of a First Nation drum. And since that time, I worked a lot with First Nations and with a chief, Lakota chief, and, you know, all the synchronicities that happen afterwards. And so at that time, I became one with her. And what they told me is that we needed to take care of her, because she was getting out of sync, and that she is so valuable, and that we really do need to take care of her. And so then from that space, and I didn't know that, I just cried. I'm a crier anyway, so it's the way I heal myself, I think. So I'm just crying, and they're showing me the earth, and I'm with her in the heartbeat, and I'm just, 100% present there, though. It's not like a dream state. It's not like a lucid dream. I'm 100% there, and I still look down and I still don't have a body, but yet I'm having these experiences. And
So what are you looking at, Barbara? When you look down and you are formless, what is the form? How
there
can you
is no
describe it?
form. There
Right.
just
Is it
isn't, like looking
energy?
through. I'm sorry, yeah,
Energy? Was there a color, a shape?
no, nothing, just really nothing. All I would say almost like a cloaking, like a cloak, like I could feel my weight, and I could see my hands, but I couldn't see them physically. I knew they were there. I felt the same weight. I felt exactly the same. But when I looked out, I didn't exist. I wasn't there. I couldn't see it. Other people, I found out later as I'm going through the experiences, they can see me just fine. I can't see me. And I think that's really interesting over the years that uh, I just saw myself as an energetic form, but not with these eyes, not with physical eyes of a human. I just existed as energy.
Right. And then meanwhile, your body is in hospital, unconscious, and then
Yes.
you're on a ship, and there's all these beings. They're like white hooded, white cloaked beings.
Mhm.
Now, how tall were the ones that were in front of you that were giving you information and asking you
They
questions?
had varying heights, some really short, some really tall, a couple really tall, but they varied in width and height and personalities as well.
And then when you say that your guardian, they were asking questions to your guardian, is this the first guy, the big one with the white cloak that came in, Sigardiason? What did he call it? Say his name was Sigardian?
The guardian, he said I could call him the guardian.
Oh,
So
the guardian.
the guardian. And so I think his job was to keep me comfortable so I could have these experiences so that I didn't freak out.
Yeah.
You know, and that I felt safe and secure. And for some reason, they wanted me to have these experiences. And so his job was to make sure that I didn't freak out. So
Yeah, beautiful. And they did they feel angelic? Did you have any other projections as to what
yeah,
you
after that, we flew out of the spaceship, him and we went over the undulating hills, thousands and thousands of acres of just forest. And at the time, I thought they were healing my my fourth chakra because I was going through divorce, right? And so I thought, well, maybe they're healing my heart, and fourth chakra is green, and they wanted me to see all this green in nature. But now, 30 years later, it's a Sasquatch connection. I didn't know it at the time. You know, I had no idea, but now I do. And so I have a Sasquatch, and I think I've had him with me all this time in some ways too. But at the time, I didn't know that. And so I just went over these hills until it was time for me to go. And how I knew we would have a go somewhere, he would come up to me and then he would give me this look, but I never saw his face, but telepathically. And then we went to the next experience. And that's me climbing up these huge stairs. And to the right is a floating, beautiful Greek looking circular temple. And there's a group of beings in a circle holding hands. And as I come up to the right, they break and I'll join hands with their synergy. And they do kind of a guttural, low kind of a guttural sound, like like that together. And so as we're standing there together and the energy is really strong and powerful, and we're floating in the middle of the universe in this Greek background. And in the middle of the circle is a column, and on the column is a hologram of the earth, and some white vapors kind of coming out of it. And what they tell me is their name is the Watchers, and that their job is to watch our planet and to guard it and to take care of her, and that I'm a part of them, and that I can always come back there if I need to. And so at the time, I was crying again, crying. I'm just crying, but I still can't see myself.
Right.
So that's the experience with them. And then
Wait, that's too good.
Okay.
We have to go back. We can't skip the Watchers. The
Okay.
Watchers come up. The Watchers, or sometimes they're also referred to as the Shining Ones. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have. And they were really shiny. They were bright, kind of an opalescence white.
Oh,
But they had the same hoods and the same big hoods, and the big robes. And I'm thinking, doesn't anyone else wear anything different? Because I think that, right? I'm thinking that because from that design point of view, like I think, did they get them on sale somewhere or something? I really could think that,
Yeah, that's funny. Oh shit, I forgot to put my microphone on. I was so excited to speak to you today. I hope you can hear me okay. Jesus.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Oh my God. Well, okay, can we go back a step here? Because
Sure.
there's a lot of infiltration at the moment. Remember when I was asking you pre-questions before coming on my channel? We can have no link to reptilian, no machinery, no gray shit. Because the greys and reptilians that have been removed off our planet, they're still trying to find ways to infiltrate through humans, right? Whether it's light technology that, it's saving the wild, or not I'm not being sarcastic about healing. It is everything, but people have to be careful. Some people are also now trying to suggest that the Watchers and the Shining Ones and the Ancient Ones are gray. They are not gray. Now, you've met them.
Yeah.
Now, please go into more detail for us so we can kill that lie, Barbara, please.
Okay. Well, for me, I mean, there was so much love coming from them. And I'm a very pragmatic person. I was a single mom with 3 kids. I didn't have time for any of this. And so when I met these beings, I'm I felt it was real, and I think I would be able to distinguish the difference. If they're cloaking, or if they're grays, or can I say that, or any
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a destructive or a negative being. Was I being programmed? I don't think so, because at the end they asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador, and I said yes. But that's after I go through a couple more experiences.
Right.
Uh, I think they were setting me up so I could tell this story. And I've been telling this story for 30 years to people, and I think everyone's going to receive something different from all of it. And if it causes you fear, well, you might want to look at that fear and put it on the table and take it apart and dispel it and bring back to the love part, or to that neutral part, or to that empowerment part of you. So at the time, the whole experience was never a fearful experience. It was a really beautiful experience, a really loving, kind experience. With They felt like, at the time, I didn't know it, they were my star family. I felt like I met my star family. At the time, I didn't know what a star family was. I had watched what's the movie, the George Jetson, and I had seen um um I think Space Odyssey, those sorts of things, but it wasn't in my I didn't have time. It wasn't in my reality at all to talk about ETs, UFOs, anything wild out there. Just wasn't there. So and with my meeting with them, it felt very orchestrated, and they only had so much time to keep me, and so they wanted to educate me and give me information, I think, to share. So they had an agenda for sure, I think,
Yeah.
to to teach me about that they are there, that they're not going to let anything happen, but they're hoping that we grow up and play nice and find peace, so that we can join the Galactic Federation, or join. I don't care what you join, okay? But it's a bigger expansion of who we are. It's a bigger of expansion of where we can play, and playing off planet would be wonderful. So it's I'm a part of that. So I'm just off on a tangent there, right?
No, I
So
love it. It's important. It's important. Okay, so thank you for clarifying the beautiful watchers and the shining ones being beautiful, pure love, here for our benevolence and not attached to anything negative or nefarious.
yeah, I've never had that. And I had met them before, when I was 12 years old, when I had to go speak in front of my whole school. And I got really nervous because I didn't want to do it, and I was chosen to do it. And so onto my right peripheral view were these beings that I meet later in the ship, and I didn't know that. And at that time, they came up and said, would you like to speak to people and give them inspiration and hope? And I said, oh, yeah, sure, I could do that. And they said, well, you won't get paid for it. And I said, well, I need to get paid for it. My family's really poor, so I would really like to get paid for it. And they just laughed, and they said, well, would you still like to do it anyway? And I said, yes, and I agreed. And that's when I was 12. And that's why I've been doing this show, the Cosmic Oracle show, for 8 years, and I've never gotten paid for it. And I've never gotten paid for speaking engagements. And I've done all of this for humanity, to raise humanity's consciousness, and to remember who we are and why we're here, and how powerful we are.
It's so beautiful. So when you were there with the watchers and they're all connecting with you, you mentioned that you saw a holographic imprint of Mother Earth.
Yes.
And the watchers were all standing around in a circular form, were they, with you, with them alongside?
Yes.
Is that how it is? Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Lakota chief. Was that back on planet, or was that also in that environment?
That was much later, when I got back, within 3 years after the uh, NDE. I happened to be at a firewalking seminar. I'm a firewalking instructor. That has a whole story. And I met a Lakota chief there, and I ended up working with him and his family. And I ended up taking him to Switzerland to teach in Switzerland as well. For 8 years, I had a healing center in Santa Cruz. So he became a real significant part of my life.
Wow, wow. What was your healing center called in Santa Cruz?
Casa del Sol, House of the Sun.
Oh my God.
And
Barbara,
we poured
fascinating.
over 200 sweats for the general public over the years there. And we did all of our events free for the public, where I had different teachers from all over the world come and teach. It
Oh
was
my
a beautiful place we had. And how we got it is a whole, story in itself too. So
Wow, Barbara, you are just full of surprises today. Now we do have to go, obviously, and cross the fact that you're being taken. I can see, like, we're walking, yeah, the snowman is going over all of the, but you're
yeah,
going over this dense forest, and that was your Sasquatch, which we'll come to.
yeah.
But from the watchers, what happened after that?
After that, he came up to me and kind of gave me the look, though I can't see his face. And then the next thing, I'm walking into these big, not doorways, but a hallway, and going up over a bridge inside a huge, gigantic mothership. Now that I know this, had a black and white checkered flooring, and there were all these different beings from all over the galaxies, I suppose. But I was there with the guardian. He kept me real close to him, and I met one that kind of looked like a waiter, like a robot, that asked me if I wanted something to drink, and they were giving drinks in little test tubes of different colors. And so I remember taking it, but I don't remember drinking it. And then everyone was telepathic. Uh, the one being I remember looking down and catching his eye was had a hot pink elephant face in a
Mm,
tuxedo.
in a tuxedo.
In a tuxedo. That's the one that caught my eye the most. And then
Wow.
there was one that came up that looked kind of like a teddy bear with a monocle. And I call him the professor. He was so excited to see a human because he had studied us, but had never actually met one. So he was very excited to actually meet one in person. So I felt
Oh.
like I was really on display as a human at this galactic party. And they told me it was an ambassador's party, and where they met to discuss peace and uh, wellness for all the planets involved, and where they were in current time. They would meet together to see where they are and where they were going with their ideas of working together. And so I was there. I didn't want to leave. There was jazz music, and people were having a really good time. Most people were talking telepathically, but every once in a while they would talk. And they did this thing kind of like a Star Trek thing, but it is what I saw. So I can't change anything I saw.
Yeah,
So
no, never change it.
I won't. I promised I would do my best, my very best, each time I tell the story, to do it with exact memory, to my best, and not add to it or take away or any of that.
Yeah.
And so they could speak any language with each other. So that was really cool. That language wasn't a problem. That everyone could speak with everyone, not only probably telepathically, but um, um, physically as well. And
Mm.
so I stayed with that group for a while. I didn't want to leave. And then my guide, the guardian, said it's time to go again. And so this time I went out and I spiraled up in the universe with all the stars. And then I came to a place where all of these amazing women, goddesses, and lapis lazuli silk dresses, and bright oranges and turquoises and sunflower yellows, and they had this beautiful long hair, and they were playing these instruments, and they talked only in tone. And so they came to me and they would talk in tone, and their job was for me to find my voice. And so by finding my voice, they had very operatic voices that were so beautiful. I thought, I can't touch that. I'm not saying anything. I wouldn't do it. And they said I couldn't leave until I did.
Ah.
And my voice is real low. I'm an alto, and so I'm very, very low. But I did find my pitch, my tone, and very low,
Mm.
like more like the Watcher in a way. So
Mm.
once I got it, they were all happy, and I was really happy. Then it was time to go, and my guardian said, "You need to come now. It's time to go." And I said, "Oh, I don't want to go." And he goes, "No, we need to go." And I kind of throw a little fit. "No, I don't want to go." And he goes,
Yeah.
"Barbara, you have 3 kids." And I go, "Oh, I have 3 kids. Oh my God, yes, let's go. So then we go up, and I see down below my body in a hospital bed, but I don't know it's me right away. But when I figure it out that it is me. I don't freak out or anything. I say, oh, that's me in the hospital bed. What am I doing down there? So then I come back up, and he said, we would like for you to, we have a mission for you, if you'd like to take it. Would you like to be an ambassador? I go, yeah, sure, no problem. And I didn't know what that was. And then I start to come back down, and I think, if I'm going to go down there, I'm really going to need some help. So I come back up and I go, I need like a get out of jail free card or some kind of pass, something to help me, because I didn't want to go down there. I just didn't want to. It was too dense. I was having a good time where I was. And so he gave me the gift of white light. And so I have that. And we all have that as humans to use to change energy and for healing energy. And so he gave me the gift of white light, and I come back down and I see my body. And so I start to go back, and I look back at him, and he's not there. And I go back down to the body, and I fill up the body with all my energy, with all white light, right? Because I still don't have a body until then. And so I feel myself all the way up till there's not a speck left. And then I sit up, I'm in the hospital room, I have all the cords and stuff in, and I could barely talk. And I said, I'm starving, I want some nachos. So I had been in a coma for almost 3 days, and they thought I was coming back. And if I did, I would be a vegetable. They didn't know how much of me would come back. And so I was tested, all these testing done, and for 10 days, and I'm a total walking miracle, basically. And so they said, oh, you're fine now, go back to work. And I'm thinking, everything changed in my life, everything that day. And so just to go back into your old world isn't possible. It just wasn't possible. And also my psychic abilities turned on 100%. So I had to learn how to turn them down and how to work with them.
Yeah.
And I teach that now. That's what I do. I have a school that I teach people how to work with their psychic abilities.
That's beautiful. And what is the name of that school, please, Barbara-Jean?
Esotera. So it's ESOTERA.US.
Esotera.us.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Can we go back to the gift of white light? Can you share with everybody watching, what does that actually mean, and the fact that we all have it, and how do we best use that gift?
Well, it's when he gave it to me, I felt like I wasn't bringing this small little thing of white light back for humanity, right? That if I could learn to use it and work with it, then everybody can. And so it's just like when you rub your hands together and you start to bring it apart. And if you visualize white light there, it's there. And so it's just giving it that color, and it gets bigger and bigger, and it gets stronger and stronger, and brighter and brighter, and lighter, and then it can become a miracle energy. And then you take that and roll it, and then you can just move it to wherever you want to send it. Yes.
I only had you on screen there. Nobody saw that. Let's do that again. Let's do what you just did.
Okay, so you have your white light. We all have our healing energy. We all have this ability. And so then you take it and you work with it until it gets stronger and stronger, and wider and wider, and lighter and lighter, and brighter and brighter. And where your intention goes into it, right? Where thought goes, energy flows. So then you start to move it. So it starts to move and becomes more real. And the more you work with it, the more real it is. And it has miracle energy in it. It has loving energy in it. And so then you just take it and you move it till it feels right. And then you can just pass it. So that's for you. So from my heart to yours.
Beautifully received, my love. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. It's another beautiful reminder for everybody out there. We're all very distracted, and we're all on a seeker's journey, an independent journey, and a group journey. And we need to remember these things, that we do create this own beautiful energy. And I've shared many times that rubbing your hands together as fast as you can to create that beautiful heat, and then very slowly, because you feel the energy. There's no question. That's your frequency right there. And then, like you say, the more you make it, you make these beautiful balls so much we can do. And it's been made to be something of ridicule for hundreds of years, but that
Yeah.
was all about taking power from the human. And so now we are reclaiming every part of us. And it's people like you that come back and give us these beautiful reminders, which is so, so special. I wanted to ask you a question about the ship, the UFO, the craft that you found yourself upon. Can you
Yeah.
describe the interior, and did you get to see the exterior?
I never saw the exterior, but I did see the interior. The room I was in the middle of a room, and it was a circular room. And there was like a counter, but everything was very, no seams, everything flowed. The light was coming up out of the ceiling, but it was kind of a blue-white light, no fixtures, no anything. Just very clear, clean. It was off-white, with kind of a blue-white light. Wasn't too bright and it wasn't too dark. It was just right. And I noticed where if the guardian came in and when he raised his hand, it put the light on the council, or where the other things came at me in like a hologram. That
I
it
was going
just
to
came
ask you
out of
about the
the wall
hologram.
like a hologram, and the earth itself was in a round porthole on the outside of the ship. So the she came, she came through the porthole and then came in as a hologram that way to me. So that's how I saw her. And I don't know how you fly out of a ship. I don't know, but that's my experience. You know what? I was just like blown away myself, like, okay, we just flew out of the ship and now we're doing this. But it isn't, it was like, oh yeah, we're doing this, we're doing this and we're having this experience. So I was like a big kid. I was enjoying it
Oh,
tremendously.
yeah.
It was so freeing. I had absolutely no pain at all, no fear, no, I was 100% present with these loving beings that were taking their time to give their wisdom and share their wisdom of the ages, I think. And why they picked me, I have no idea. Okay. Except for maybe I think later, at the time I didn't. I think, God, they must be really hard up, to get a mom, with 3 kids, and I don't have time for this stuff too. They could have picked a real diplomat in some ways,
No, they picked the right person. Come on, they picked the right person.
and so the experience overall was really beautiful. And do I miss it? Yeah, I think there's a part of me that's still there. So, and there is a part of me, I'm really fully in my body now. I mean, I check out, but I'm really aware of my body now. I wasn't aware of it before either. And I think I learned that through that process. I teach, be in your body. Are you in your body or are you out of your body? Where are you in your body? Oops, sorry.
All right.
So
Yeah, no, amazing lessons, good teachings, good teachings. Barbara, are you ready? Do you feel that we've shared enough of that experience with the guardians and the beings on board that we can move to the Sasquatch, or is there anything we've left
yeah.
out?
No, that's good.
All right, darling. Over to you for the Sasquatch part.
Okay, so just start. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I met my friend Brian Bland through Facebook, and he was talking. Well, I actually met Brian through Mike Harrell, who on my show I said, I want to learn about the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and who do I go for that? And Michael Harrell said, well, you need to talk to my friend Brian because he's the one. So I got in contact with Brian and we talked for like 3 hours on a messenger. And while I'm talking to him and he's introducing me to his clan, Ari, I can feel Ari. And as we're talking, Ari comes and he stands right behind me on my back. I can feel him when he comes through. Talk about him, And so that's my first experience that I remembered with a Bigfoot was through Brian. And I teased him that I stole his Ari clan leader from him. And so, and then I tell him, well, I could find my own. I'm not like that. I don't take things that don't belong to me. I'm not like that. I want my own. So I kind of, I want my own Sasquatch. I don't want yours. I want my own. And so they think that's really funny. And Brian and I laugh about it. And so later I got a call from Kelly Rainbow Butterfly, and she asked me to speak at the Sasquatch conference. And I said, well, I don't have a story to tell. And she goes, well, they told me to ask you. So I said, okay, but I can't guarantee anything, right? So about, I don't know what time it was, but it was before the event. I'm riding in my car down the street. I have my little dog, Mary Margaret, with me, and going to the grocery store, and it's just, a regular day, when down through the roof comes a Sasquatch and sits in the passenger seat. Big one, right? And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm driving, and I'm thinking, I have really lost it. I must have more stress than I thought, and he's right there with me, and he's smiling, and I'm smiling, and I can smell him. Usually that's how I know they're here, is by their smell.
Right.
And have that beautiful, intense smell that I like a lot. Some people don't, but I really like it. I find it very reassuring. And so he's in, and he's sitting in my seat, and I'm going, oh my God. And so then he telepaths to me, turn on the radio. And so I have a little tape cassette and a little radio in my car still. And so I turn it on, and the music is from George Michael. It's I Am Your Father Figure. And that's what played. And so I had that experience. So I told Brian, and so I went to the conference. And
what conference?
The Sasquatch conference with Kelly Rainbow Butterflies conference.
Okay.
2019.
Okay. Can I, sorry, because this is information that people are so hungry for. They want to know, who else can they link to? Michael Harrell, Brian Bland, and this lady.
And Kelly Rainbow Butterfly is amazing. She's doing amazing work. She used to be married to Lapseritis was her last name. I forget his name. But she's amazing, and puts together at least one, usually two Sasquatch conferences a year, in one in Oregon, and then the last one I'm not sure, was in the Midwest somewhere. But she's amazing. You can have her on your show. She's pretty incredible, and a wonderful speaker, big heart, and has written several books on Sasquatch.
Beautiful.
So she's pretty amazing.
So as we move to Sasquatch, and we're helping people now, when you say this beautiful, huge Sasquatch just slipped in through the roof of the car and sat beside you, some people will find that confusing because they only imagine Sasquatch to be in the physical, heavy form. So we want to go into a little bit of the metaphysics and the spiritual connection. But what color was your Sasquatch, and does he or she have a name?
I didn't get a name from him, and he was just like a medium brown fur.
And describe the smell.
The smell is skunk, earthy, with a little patchouli.
Yeah, I'm liking the patchouli bit a lot, not so much the skunk.
Yeah, but a little bit of skunk. There's a little bit of skunk there for sure. Very, very strong, very, very strong smell. And what was interesting about this story, because when you have experiences by yourself, I'm still a skeptic at heart still, but you question it. So when I got to this conference in 2019, I get out of the car. There's a friend there. He's a good friend now, Garrett Duncan. He's a native shaman, and he says, well, I had the weirdest Sasquatch story I have to tell everyone. And I kind of just get out of the car and stand kind of near him. And he says, I was driving down the street, minding my own business, going somewhere, and a Sasquatch comes through the roof and sits in the passenger seat of my car. I swear to God, I swear. And I, oh gosh, it happened to someone else too. So we met that way. We had the same story. That's how we met. And it was just wild. And at that conference too, I saw my very first cliff for me. I went off walking by myself, and I wasn't looking for it at all. and I'd only seen photos, and read about them, but I had never experienced one. And there it was, and it was the welcome sign, the A welcome sign. That's from Brian, and I just cried. Because I'm a crier, so I just cried.
Ah,
It's something surreal about it when you see your first glyph. It's there's so much love there from them. It's their fine art and communication with you. And
yeah, it is. It is. And we'll just backtrack a little for the audience that won't have ever heard about the glyphs or not realized that the beautiful Sasquatch beings, they come in physical form, they come in their spiritual form, their metaphysical aspects, and they leave beautiful little art pieces on the ground, a feather and a leaf and sticks and twigs that there's no way the wind could have blown that. What a conundrum. How did it get there? It was made by the hand of the Sasquatch, or they have these giant beautiful arches that they make. And guys, on my channel there are several interviews. There's Michael Harrell and Brian Bland there. I just did Brian Bland recently because he just released his book, and they have more spiritual, metaphysical experiences, as you have. And then there are those two that obviously, like Sunbow True Brother, who I had at the conference last year. Yeah, he's so beautiful. I got a lot of time and respect for Sunbow.
Yeah, I do too. I love him.
Yeah, and then when he shares his physical expression and his physical meeting with 15 Sasquatch and a craft. And, for me, Sunbow True Brother was one of the main ones over my lifetime and my interest in these beautiful beloveds that really anchored in the off-planet and on-planet aspects. And that gives people the education they've been missing. And you've got these buffoons, foolish, mostly men, running around the country making these ridiculous, boring episodes of how they're going to hunt them and kill them, which all it does is gives me the greatest enormous stress. And I want to go and smack those boys around, because they're mocking our beloveds who are way more intelligent than we're ever going to be, in so many ways. So people just know they leave glyphs. And I was sharing with you my time in Costa Rica. I connected with the most beautiful, and she was blonde, and her name is She Bear Sasquatch. And I remember thinking, Dani, you're such a narcissist. Of course she's blonde. Get over yourself because you're blonde. And I'm really hard on myself when it comes to interactions like that, right? Which I think I'm a bit too hard, but people still need to rein in. Look at your ego. Is this real or is it fantasy? Or do you want to be in someone's Sasquatch gang? Like, let's check that out. So I was very harsh on myself, and I was there's a plant in Costa Rica, and when it releases before it seeds, it's like blonde fur, literally like little dog fur. And of course it's everywhere, and I'm like, no, it's the plants, it's not she bear, it's my imagination. And then I come through a gateway, and there on the ground is the most beautiful glyph that nobody would have stood on because it was purposely just out of the way, but they made sure that I would see it. And I was guided out of the house to go for a walk that way in the jungle, and that's what I did. And I was like, okay, I believe. And then my friend Chris O'Connor, he's the guy I was showing you the Deems device before we got on. Yeah, Chris O'Connor, who I've been saying for over a year now, he will be one of the main voices that we listen to in terms of Sasquatch, the moon in the rings of Saturn, which is a space station, which nobody was talking about. Of course, NASA's trying to get on board. NASA's so behind. Honestly, BARBERA-JEAN, so behind. But anyway, when he came to stay at my house to do some deep regression for his memories, his regressed memories of being a soldier off planet in the military, Space Force, and other, he saw three looking in the window. He's like, Dani, not yelling, like, Dani, oh my God, there were three. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, they're my friends. I had no friends. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, but they really were there. No, it's great as well when you get confirmation, like you having the experience of the Sasquatch coming in, without physical dance form, but in form beside you in the car, and another man says the same thing. You go, oh yeah.
It's well, and I always talk with Mike Harrell because I don't go out in the forest that much. I live at the base of a forest though, and there's hundreds of thousands of acres of forest behind me, coincidentally. But
Not
I'm,
really.
I walk a little bit, but I'm not in the forest enough to really see them. So they, and Michael goes, well, me either. I'm a city boy and I'm a city girl. And they come, so they can come. You don't have to go in the forest to find them. They'll come find you if you, and I wasn't looking either. You don't have to look. They'll just come. They'll
Yeah.
come. If I think if your heart's open and you're open-minded um and they and you have a connection with them, it's already there. It's
Mhm.
remembering that connection. It's like they, after I had that first connection, I thought, oh, I think I've seen them my whole life. I think they've been there, but they're in the back, they're in the background, just saying, you can do this, or you got this, or you can do that. Kind of like cheerleaders in a way,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
to help you. Because I've never had one scare me or say anything, other than loving and um, nurturing. And so that's been my experience with them. And we'll see. And so I never know when it's going to happen, but I know something's going to happen. I can feel it. And so they'll come again when it's ready. And I think they wait for me. I'm always busy. I get busy, and so I got to remember to take the time and just, I think through me, it's through meditation or through relaxation, a letting go, a surrender, that they can just come through in that kind of a awe moment. So they had
Yeah.
to get me when I was busy driving a car, but you know, uh, and that cracks me up. And I think for me, they're very much interdimensional, right? So they can just
Mhm.
come and go at will. I think we'll learn how to do that again. I know we know how to do that. It's going to take us some time to lift our vibration and our I think also our love for ourselves as well. That how amazing we are. I don't think we forgot as much as we were conditioned, and now we get to revitalize and reboot and uh and have some fun.
Fun, fun, fun. We have to have fun. I mean, that totally raises everything. It raises you out of that moment before you might do yourself some harm. It raises you out of putting yourself down and being unkind and talking wickedly to yourself. It shifts everything. It brings everything into alignment and perspective. You're so, so right. I made so many notes. This is such a fascinating conversation, and it's just so full of everything. And what I've been doing, I had to shut down my online clinic, my online practice that I've been running for over 20 years in terms of spiritual readings, clairvoyant medium, and as a qualified therapist. And so I've been very purposefully bringing on the most beautiful people to bring their gifts, their talents, and their services, so I might serve the public that way too. And you are such a beautiful addition to this array of, it's been mostly women, but of course men are equally able to bring their work and their healing, and I'm just so happy to have you here.
Thank
um
you so much.
oh, my darling, of course, may we, before, I do want to talk about your cosmic oracle show and
Okay.
platform, but can maybe pop back to the Lakota chief,
Yeah.
for you to share anything there with our indigenous brothers and sisters that may also be of interest and value in this beautiful embroidery of a story that you're sharing here.
Okay. Yeah. I think before I had the NDE, I was an organic gardener, and I thought I had a relationship with the earth, right? I didn't even know the seasons, but I started to learn the seasons and how we work with the seasons and how we work with the earth and how we are one with the earth, really. And I learned that from the Lakota Sioux, and they've never lost it. They're kind of like the Sasquatch in that way, right? That they haven't ever lost their connection with the earth. So if you're looking for connection with the earth, and your heart with the Earth Mother, the First Nations are the places to go. If they have a sweat lodge or ceremony, you can go to a powwow. You can look up online too,
Yeah.
and and their traditions are so beautiful, and so amazing. And um, there's a meeting in Serpent Mound in Ohio coming up in March, and there's a lot of First Nations there. So that's with Terry Rivera and her work with the Star Knowledge Conference.
Okay, this
That
is
would
the
be a good start.
Serpent Mound and the Star Knowledge Conference.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, we need to be bringing, like, collapsing everybody in together. No more separation, because that's how the world has been designed, all coming in together. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that would be a really good first start, you know.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. And now to your dedication as the Cosmic Oracle for the last 8 years. May you share with us how you came about and what it actually means to have this platform for you.
Okay, yeah, I was I went to a MUFON, actually UPARS, it's called, in LA, a meeting for people who've had ET UFO experiences, and there was a person there speaking. And so they asked people who had experiences to get up and talk. So I got up and just talked briefly and sat down, and a lady came to me and she said, "You're supposed to be on my friend's show." And this is the way it happens, right? When you get people together, you're supposed to be on my friend's show. It's Amy West on Revolution Radio. And here's her number, and call her. And I go, okay. She goes, call her right now. So I call her, and Amy says, well, come on my show tomorrow. I go, okay. So on Saturday, then I find myself on her talk show, and I'm giving readings to people. And so happens the owner of Revolution Radio, Hawk, hears the interview and my work, and he calls me up and says, do you want to have your own show? And so within a week, I have my own show.
Whoa.
I had never been on show. I threw up before. I was in the air, and 2 hours is such a long time, and I didn't know how I could do it. And so I wanted to learn about ETs and UFOs and everything by 5 o'clock, right? And so what better way than to find the experts and have them come on your show? So I did readings and healings, and then I also had started doing interviews of different experts. Tomorrow I have my good friend Steve Colburn coming on, and he's the world's expert on alien implants, and he'll be on and talking tomorrow. So you get to meet all these amazing people, right, Dani? When you do these things, you hook up with these people that are like the movers and shakers of the world as we know it. And
absolutely. Yeah, when you're on path, but when you're also generously like sharing of self, or doing hundreds of broadcasts for free and bringing people to the information, and absolutely. I mean, again, sometimes sadly programming is, people are like, well, if you're spiritual, you shouldn't charge. That is the oldest trick and lie in the book. How ridiculous. Then let's do the doctors not charge, and the lawyers not charge, and the grocery stores not charge for food. We've got to get a grip and a handle and recognize that when we say something, ask, where did that come from? Where is the root of that I am saying? Is that me talking, or is that programming? Because more now than ever, BARBERA-JEAN, we are dismantling that programming inside of us to get back to, essence.
Right. And to charge for your services, it's okay. It's not okay. You must, because it's a way that you get to celebrate yourself and your abilities, and how much you do really help people in need all the time, and so I've been fighting that fight for a long time. And and to teach that, you're right, to teach it to everyone, that we do have the doctors, lawyers, and now you have psychics are becoming the new therapist in a lot of ways.
Of course.
That's a whole nother show, though. Probably.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, though. Definitely. Like when I was practicing, I was a spiritual therapist. That was my title, because of the years and years of being a spiritualist, and also studying and qualifying in general areas of spirituality and metaphysics, to make sure that I could understand my own gifts. Because I think it's irresponsible for people just to cock out there and be saying this and this and this, because people are vulnerable. So if they think you have power, you have a duty to mind what you say to that person, because they will take everything literally sometimes and walk away terrified and messed up. You
Yeah.
know, it's as important as a doctor saying, well, you've got 6 months to live and then you're dead in
Oh,
6 months, because you took that on as a self-fulfilling
right.
prophecy. Words are
Yeah.
very, very important, aren't they?
Yeah. 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 I had a doctor tell me I would never have children. And I have three beautiful children and three beautiful grandchildren. So
See, that
you
doctor
do.
was rubbish. Rubbish doctor. Right?
So yeah. So yeah, I love doing the show. It's on Revolution Radio and then on Facebook as well. Um, and um, I do have a SecMet experience too. When after this, you know how things happen. And I hooked up with this beautiful woman, and we traveled the world. I went to most of the sacred spots all over the world. So,
Mm.
um, uh, you know, just so happened to do that. And before the NDE, I had never been out of the United States. So over
Wow.
the next 15 years, I will travel to Egypt several times, and uh, Ireland, Scotland, England. I mean, just you name it. And I went. And in Sekhmet's temple in Karnak, I walked into her space, and no one told me. I didn't know anything about her at all, nothing. And she walked out of her statue, actually
Mm.
out of her statue, like you. She walked out of her statue and put a ring of fire around us, and then put down a golden stair. And I stepped on the stair, and then it filled with this dark water. And her beams, red beams, came out of her eyes into my eyes and into my sixth chakra. And she said, "Remember who you are." And as she's doing that, my whole body's shaking, and I cracked my tooth just cracked in half. and
Wow.
and what she said, and I was going through a really bad divorce at the time, and she wanted me to remind me that I was powerful. And she's
Mm.
earned this, you've earned this, and remember that. And so once I got it, all I could say was, "Oh, okay," like. And then the water came up, the fire went away. She motioned, I stepped off the stairs went back in, and then it was like it was before. And then I cried for about 3 days. And
Oh.
so I have a whole thing with Sekhmet. I wrote a book about it, and I just love her. And that's that Lyran connection, you know. I didn't find out about that till later either. So, but what I found is that there's many people who've had experiences with her at that particular spot. It's a very juicy spot, shall we say, at her temple. And there was a doctor, it started with a Q, I want to say Greenspan, I'm not sure, had the same experience I did. I always
Mm.
feel better when someone else has it, so I don't feel,
Yeah.
like too out there. So,
Yeah.
but once
Wow.
you go through this, you expand a lot, and so you feel really comfortable being out there. But I'm also very practical and pragmatic person as well. So, so I'm not airy fairy out there all the time. Just
Mhm.
I can. It's
Yeah.
probably my choice. So,
Well, I think the thing is to really, really tell the truth.
mhm,
Tell the truth, and
mhm.
don't exaggerate, and don't try and be bigger than you actually are, because you will fall on your ass. We all do. We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
do. And you've got some Billy bullshitters out there giving their story because they really are craving the fame and the notoriety, but really they end up looking like, silly people. They
yeah.
have to go and end up sitting on the step in the corner, the naughty step, and thinking about their manners and the life and the people they took on a journey that wasn't true. So when you say an experience like you had, then you shared it, and then you see somebody else says the same thing and there's no corroboration at all, that is what we're looking for. That is
Yes,
disclosure on one,
yeah.
one essence of the word itself. So well, girl, this has been so interesting. And I know that we haven't even covered the blue and green fluorescent lights and the
Oh,
fingers. And I think what I would like to do is invite you back for a part two, because you've given so much in this one section here, that I would love the audience to see you and listen to your story, and then have a part two in a few days.
Oh, thank you. Sure, sure. I would be honored to do that. Hey, it's what happens. I just turned 70, and so you have a lot of life experience when you're 70, so you have a lot of stories to tell.
Ah, well, happy birthday, gorgeous girl. When was it? Are you Aquarian?
No, I mean, it was August. I'll be 71 August this year.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so I've been doing this for about 35 years, so
Yeah.
stuff happens in
Yeah, yeah,
35
yeah.
years.
Yeah, you know a thing or two after 35 years, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Barbara, let me hand over to you for final words at this stage, where people can find you, etc.
Okay. You can find me at probably on Facebook, the Cosmic Oracle Show, or Barbara-Jean Lindsay. You can also reach me at Barbara at Esotera.us. That's my school. And leave a message and I'll get back to you. And I would love to talk to you, give you a reading, a healing, however I can help, serve.
That's beautiful. Barbara-Jean Lindsay, thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you and have you on my channel. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Michael from Pork and Beans for bringing this lady onto my channel. Really, really appreciate you. See you in a few days.
Thank
And
you.
to you guys out there, oh, bless you. Thank you, guys. I just know you're going to love Barbara, right? What a trip. What a lovely trip. What a journey she is. So give you guys, as always, my love, and I'll see you soon.